Hey everyone, you're with Matthew, you're at the Hub, and you may not know it, but you're also in the Matrix. Again, this week, the Matrix is coming from my yoga mat at home. At Mind Body Solutions, we try to share how a yoga practice and or any mind body practice can help during difficult times. And we're in one of those times now. Between the pandemic and staying at home more and all the disruptions to our everyday life that's causing, but also in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, there is so much unrest and discomfort, and we're seeing a more direct expression of all the pain and suffering that is being experienced from our criminal justice system for Black lives in particular, but also for people in color in general. And we also all are feeling, or many of us are feeling, the need to change. During this time, one of the things that I think how a yoga practice teaches something really vital or reveals something really vital is that I remember coming across a line very early in my yoga practice from Biggest Iyengar, I think. But the line was, pain comes to guide you. And I remember at the time, that's when I first started yoga, and I live with a lot of chronic pain. I remember being like, what? It comes to guide you? Because like most people, I thought about pain as something to be avoided, to be eliminated, and if you want to achieve anything, it's something to be ignored, kind of the old no pain, no gain. And so when I heard this line about, no, it comes to guide you, I remember thinking, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I can tell you, it's been an essential signpost in my yoga practice over the last 29 years. One of the things about pain that especially your asana practice really reveals is that pain is a form of communication that flows more from body to mind. That it's a way that your body gets your mind's attention. So if you've been doing something like overusing your body, abusing your body, eventually your body will start to bark. It'll start to give you pain. And that's when your relationship to pain is exposed. And so this idea that there's a lot of other relationships between alleviating, avoiding, or overcoming is actually an integral part of a developing yoga practice. Not only is pain a form of communication more from body to mind, but it's also usually, especially in an asana practice, it's almost always a symptom of some sort of imbalance. That there's something going on in your body and how you're working with your body or working against your body that's somehow off balance. You're not working hard enough in some spots, but usually it's that you're working too hard in some spots and not more balanced in another. And so this idea that pain is a sign, is a form of communication of being out of balance, that's really important. But it's also unrealistic to think that there can be a complete alleviation of pain, right? And that's not just true in a yoga practice, but in your yoga practice, certain things are gonna hurt, right? And you're not always seeking in an asana practice because you're trying to include your body's voice in your practice. You're not trying to make everything be without effort and without some pain. But it's really important, if you're gonna let pain be a guide for you, it's really important that you stay alert to pain, that you learn to discriminate different kinds of pain, good pain, bad pain, that you don't take this blind approach that it should be overcome and ignored when I'm trying to achieve something. No, what if it's a form of essential communication when you are entering something new and something is changing? And so you want it to be a guide, which means you have to stay really, really alert. Another thing in relationship to pain is that pain, and this is a chronic pain management idea, but pain should be distributed. Like if you have something that's hurting throughout your day, the tendency is to only focus your mind on what hurts, and then that causes a whole bunch of fear, and it changes your movements, right? So if you're going into a pose and you know something's gonna, maybe you're really tight, or you're working through, like I just re-aggravated my shoulder. And so I've been watching what hurts and what doesn't and learning stuff. But if you're only going to be afraid and clench up, right, that doesn't work either. So there's this weird, the healthy kind of pain that comes to guide you needs to be distributed and absorbed by the whole system, your whole body, your whole mind-body relationship. So you don't just focus on it. You don't just try to avoid it or distract away from it, but you keep it alert in the system, your overall whole of your consciousness. This is a huge skill in a yoga practice, that you have to be able to let it come to guide you, incorporate it. Don't just take too much pain. All these things demand a more alert asana practitioner. And so the way that pain will teach you things, but it will guide your actions in a way that's really important. What strikes me about it is how relevant all those skills are in relationship to what we're seeing in our society right now. That I'm telling you, the day that I don't feel the existence of injustice as pain within me is the day I better check my pulse, right? Because unjust actions, unjust events cause our evolving human consciousness. It causes pain. And this is something not to close your eyes to and try to avoid, not to blame, stop this, stop that, in the asana practice, this pose is bad. No, you have to sit and pay attention to it and incorporate it and let the pain guide the transformation. This is something that we're going to feel. It's not, the unjustness of our social order and our criminal justice system is not going to be fixed overnight. That's another thing that's a really important realization in a yoga practice, is that there's not one magic pose that does all the work and eliminates the pain. The elimination of pain is usually the rewriting of a bad habit. It's a process where you recognize that you need to work differently and you stay alert. These are all things, how to integrate your breath in relationship to what hurts, not to overcome your pain, but to help you with distributing the burden of the pain. And this in particular seems relevant to us now, that the pain we're feeling from all the suffering we're seeing that's being more directly exposed and communicated more widely throughout our culture, this is something to keep your eyes open to stay grounded, to learn how to work. If you get ungrounded in a yoga pose, things will hurt worse. If you focus not on all the things that are wrong with what hurts in a yoga pose, but not with a lot of what's right. This is another place where asana and a yoga practice has incredible lessons to teach. If you let it guide you, if you realize that it becomes part of the human endeavor, that it can never be eliminated, but it can guide you, and we can move together. We can move to less pain, or at least more equally distributed pain. And in that process, in the deep processing of pain, you have to keep supported. You have to keep, there's equal measure of what's uncomfortable with pain. You limit that, but you also have to have equal measures of a discomfort and support in order to truly process the way that pain comes to guide you. I think there's so much to learn from a yoga practice, from a mind-body practice that is so relevant, both to your own personal health, but in how you navigate the world. Until next time, we'll meet up in the Matrix.